Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC. We're moving into our final game of this series, but don't worry, there's another series after this one if you want more League of Legends action. I always said the word Legends wrong. That's cool. I don't talk about this game all the time. Viper and Nymera initialized. That's us. We're going to be going very swiftly into picks and mans. Nymera, anything you really want to see changed by either of these teams?
Well, honestly, again, we kind of come back to this question of actually, I don't think it's the draft. I think it's about execution. The question is, what are these teams most comfortable on, and what have they been lacking in the games that they've lost? Of course, when Riddle lost, it was lacking some of that ability to play around an actual front line, and play around actual peel. They had that in the second game. They ended up making that work. But when Singularity won, they had the heavy dive. They could get that backline access, and when they lost, they didn't have themselves that same level of ability to kind of engage, right? They didn't have that AoE engage. So I'm wondering what both these teams are going to go in regards to that. Maybe we do see a Nautilus more highly prioritized because it does have slightly better team fight engage, maybe over that Thresh. You can have to see if that gets through the last pick and bans. The Thresh is going to be banned either way. I suddenly think that Nautilus is actually quite an important pick here. Maybe going back to the Leona as well as an option.
Viego gets through though. That just gets picked in first here. I think this is the first time it's gotten through all series. Well, been banned both games, so obviously relatively flexible. Top lane, jungle, there's an outside chance of mid lane as well. So a bit more team fight in there, a bit more reset potential, which definitely I'm sure Singularity would like. They've been skirmishing quite well, I feel. They've been spreading the map and making the plays quite well. It's been those 5v5 team fights which have kind of bit them a bit more often. But I remember MC's Diana from the game one being pretty strong, so I'm a little scared for Singularity seeing that go over.
I love that we're on the same sides again, by the way. Like, real sticking to their guns on this.
I mean, I don't think side preference has really been, because as you said, it hasn't been a case of compositions not working out or draft being particularly bad from either team. It's been gameplay. It's been all out on the Rift, and we've got the Jinx again for Gooby.
You mercilessly bullied me for saying that in different words.
But you used the wrong words for it. That was the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. You're an analyst. How can you be so ineloquent? You know?
Watch me get even worse from this point.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got the
Dark
coming in
Mage
mid lane.
returneth.
Could be bot as well.
Well, that's the thing, right? Yeah, we've been seeing some Syndra's bot again recently. In fact, Gooby, upon seeing the spot from Deadly and BTXL, picked out the Xerath, and then this is the kind of thing we mentioned pre-series, picked up the Xerath, had the Futures Market, so started on a Mana Crystal, came back with the Lost Chapter very early and just said, I'm just going to wave clear for forever now. You can't really push the turret as the Syndra in this kind of matchup. And I believe that was with the Nautilus in lane 2, so this is a lane which has been shown by a different team, at least with the Syndra, for the side of Singularity, if they do want to shove that down bot lane.
Difference here, though, is that they already know what this would be into if they do go down by. It's not like there's the opportunity really to counterpick the Xerath there, because the Jinx realistically does have to go towards that bot lane. Why I quite like the Brawlman response, because at least if the Syndra does go down there, you can throw up the door and try and block out some of those Scatter the Weak combos. But you do have a lot of, particularly once you hit like level 3, once you hit level 6, those two big breakpoints, you can really look to blow up the Jinx. They already pulled off some good dives with PlayStation's slightly mistimed roams when the waves were crashing, leaving to that pretty easy dive onto Gooby in that last game. So if that is a flex down bottom, there is a world with what we've been seeing in the meta. I like the Braum response, but it still could be a bit risky for dear old Gooby in this one.
Absolutely, and we've got the Gragas and Ornn taken off the table, so a couple of the tanks we've seen top lane not available, neither is the Lucian, which, you know, we could still see the Syndra going mid lane, so that might be a bit of a wasted ban, but it looks like these two teams are, especially Riddle, are prepping for the Syndra to potentially go bot, as you say, with that Braum keeping that Jinx nice and safe. We'll have to see what Singularity decide is their priority taking away as their final ban, but they still have to look towards potentially a couple of solo lanes in their own picks.
So I find it really interesting when it comes around to these second round bans, actually, when you do have flex picks like the Viego going everywhere, Syndra potentially going in different places too, because it kind of leaves you with this kind of like, you know, I love to use the analogy of the sword of Damocles, like the sword hanging by a thread above you. If you double ban a role which they flex that into, you've completely misused your second round bans. So they have to kind of split them out just to try and avoid the worst case scenario at this point. We see Riddle do actually have, you know, consistent long-range damage access from the Jinx in this fight. They have themselves team fight engaged now too. I think Riddle have been iterating and innovating throughout the series remarkably well. I think this Wukong pickup could be very important, but Wazor now the shoes on their foot now to kind of say, all right, you have to pick something that can not just hold a front line against the Jinx, against the Diana locking into it, but also not get crushed by someone who's notoriously good at anti-tank killing, the Wukong.
Yeah, it's not just that. I mean, like, Kecht has been, even with the Gangplank game, like he was using it as a really good option to threaten stuff like Dragtar in particular, like the GP with the Cannon Barrage. Last game was the Orm with the ridiculous flanks. The Wukong could certainly do that same, but you heard the exclamation from Nymera. That's throwing down the gauntlet, putting that Fiora down now with the Akali lock. Love it. It is the Syndra bot lane, so I love it. Great stuff from Singularity. Very entertaining draft.
1-3 on options.
It's brave. We'll have to see what the response is going to be from slow queue. We've got Lissandre is available, which is the classic, like, seems like a pretty easy counter pick into the Akali. We'll have to see exactly where he wants to go. Of course, the Lucian is not a bad option, but that has been moved.
Lucian! Like, we've got the Diana Yasuo.
And as well, and a Braum, loads of knockouts.
Not from Jinx, though. None from Jinx.
Yeah, Jinx is bad. You can just throw in some chompers and be a part of that.
AD carries. Hey, what even do they do? It's not like the whole series has been about AD carries, right?
I mean, how is that going to go mid lane? Because we've got Akali Yasuo, and they could have gone for a very easy counter pickup. Is the Yasuo going to be that Nymera?
So in a 1v1 sense, this is the kind of thing which makes it up onto your big montages on YouTube. Lots of mobility, you can block out stuff like the Shuriken Flip with your Wind Wall. It's more about, much like, I mean, we've known this ever since Season 5 onwards, really, when we saw the Gragas jungle come into fruition. If you have Yasuo with the Diana, you have to keep your eyes glued to your lane every second, because if the Diana comes flying out of the middle of nowhere, you just die. You get one shot in the duration of your combo. That means that Fury has to be very, very careful with how they're playing the mid game. You don't go alone. You don't go into fog of war. You need to be very careful.
Initialized final thoughts for you, Fred casters?
I like the 1-3-1 options with the Fiora and the Akali, but I'll also say it's not just a Diana you need to be checking up for if you're a fan of that Yasuo combo, because the Braum can roam and do it too. The Wukong can roam and add that knock up too. So very big eyes on your vision this game for those 1-3-1s and for that potential collapse to allow Yasuo the big combos.
This series has gone the distance, which is great news because it means we get to spend more time with Hitrain and Orc, so we're about to throw over to...
his prediction wrong.
Yes!
Take it away,
best,
guys.
Most beautiful thing.
Thank you very much, guys. Hello and welcome back to the Caster Deskers and to the third and final game. If your Nexus explodes, that's you done here. That is your run in chaos over, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think that's both teams' goal here, is to keep their Nexus alive while taking down the other team's Nexus. So thank you for that analysis, Jay.
I mean, essentially the game plan, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all boils down to that. And I think this game, honestly, there's a lot to talk about, you know? I think in the bot lane, I like the Jinx Braum combo against the Nautilus, but Syndra is going to be able to contest the priority early on the back of her spheres, which are now a lot cheaper in terms of mana on this patch. We have Fury's Akali, which has been nerfed on 11-15, but is still, you know, of course, to be reckoned with. We saw that in their previous series against Nordabin to great effect. Similarly, Wazel's Fiora came out and obviously is going to be a major threat in the side lane. But then we have just really strong team fighting from Riddle with that big grouped up sort of combo coming out from the front line, and then Gooby for the cleanup to follow through. And I think Singularity do really well on skirmishes. I think if they can split fights, they're in a really comfortable position. But when groupings come in, I think Riddle have the advantage there. But really, there's a lot of execution-based champions here, a lot of high skill cap champions here. And I feel like, you know, we're going into game 3. This is going to be an exciting one.
Well, the minions have spawned. We're on to the Rift. The action is ready to start. This top lane is going to be pretty interesting. We've seen a couple of Fioras actually come out from Wazel versus Kerberos. Typically as a counter towards the things like the Nasus and things, or like a lane matchup at least in some cases. So it's not something, it's not like he's just pulled out from nowhere. We have seen a couple of games on it, and Riddle going for the late invade. Gooby not going to take out the ward. Singularity of where this is going on. They've been seen out on the ward, and let's see how this goes out. Prosper stepping up, places the ward, spots it out. Nolty comes in. Oh, the Syndra. Oh, the Syndra, the smite.
How does Nolty get that? I mean, I know the W from the Syndra. The W from the Syndra wasn't that good. I like the thought process to level W first so that you can, you know, lift up and throw it away. But like,
just threw it back
MC kind of just stared at it for a second, and it felt like, you know, he was contemplating his existence and then just opted not to smite. It was a little bit rough, but credit to Nolty for securing that one. I like the inventive W usage from Dragdart to try and help secure it, even if the execution was a little bit whiffed. But that does mean he's starting that W level 1, so that priority we're talking about is not going to be in play here. Dragdar significantly weakened on the back of that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, as much you can call a bad play, but it went right at least. So, you know, the thought was there and the actions reflected that, as able to pick that buff up. And like you said, is going to cost them, you know, the pressure in this wave, in this lane, the ability to clear through the wave fairly quickly. As Kex getting heavily shoved in, those vital spots do hurt from the Fiora, and obviously offer a bit of sustain as well, along with that grasp.
Yeah, a bit tricky to trade right now for Kex. Just struggling against just the power of the Fiora with those early vitals. And obviously, if you walk into it, she has the W, which can turn things around, and the Ignite. And I think the Ignite is the major thing. We often see Kerberos play the Wukong top lane throughout the NLC, and he would take Ignite instead of Flash. Obviously reduces your team fight effectiveness a little bit, but it means you have more presence in the 1v1, and that's really what Wazor's picked this for, because that is the value of the Fiora. You've taken the Fiora for that 1v1 prowess.
Slowkey actually just looking to try and hold the wave here somewhat. So Wazor has to be a little careful. There is MC in his pocket. Obviously, can hit that vital, get the riposte off, and a fair amount of healing. One more lunge will do it as Wazor gets jumped into. First blood picked up, and Nolty able to turn it around though. MC may just get chased down here, but nope, he's going to be A-okay. Nolty's not going to touch the wave because Wazor can just teleport back into it and pick it up himself.
Yep, and I think Kex has to TP in here as well, so he can push the wave in. All in all, I really like the adaptation from MC. He knew that Kex had his wave bouncing, and it had to be covered, right? If Kex has to push up there to let the wave crash, and he needs coverage from the Diana to make that happen. And they managed to trade 1-for-1, and the extra goal goes to Kex, so I don't think they can be too unhappy, but you know, Nolty's there, and you really can't challenge the Viego in those skirmishes. Once he's got that reset, just gives him way too much power to get an extra rotation of abilities and that heal as well.
Well, he's missed a couple of minions underneath that tower, not particularly ideal. Both of them got their sheen now finished up, although Kex, with that first blood gold, also able to pick himself up a pair of boots. So
there's a long roam coming out here from Prospect to the top side. Kex, the wave's pushing into you. You just need to back away. And he's made the right decision on this. Don't contest it. Don't contest it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just walk away. It's going to push into you. You missed nothing. Walk away. Walk away. Good. Nice. Finally. They might be looking for the dive on this. We have Slowkey with TP, so look out for that one.
Yeah, well, they're holding the wave here as well, making sure this one crashes in. And Kex, I think this might hurt, friend. Teleport's coming in, and it looks like they may just actually cool it off, forcing the teleport out from Slowkey and just buying a bit of free space for Fury. So at the end of the day, they don't gain anything, but, you know, they don't lose anything. It's Riddle that go down by losing a teleport.
Yep, and Slowkey actually now has to reset and then walk mid. But fortunately, you know, things aren't too bad in terms of the mid wave. He should just be able to come in and catch this, and it'll be built up. We'll miss a little bit of farm just because there's a cannon on the other side doing some work. But all in all, you know, you had to TP there. If that wave is missed by Kex, you would be even further behind than he is now. Things would be a bit of a disaster, I would say that much. Yeah, and I like the setup from Singularity. I like the long roam from Prospect. It's one of the advantages of having this Syndra who can just obliterate waves in the bot side.
Yeah, I mean, she can play fairly safe as well. Obviously, you do have to be a little bit careful, but it is a Braum. It's not like they're playing into a Nautilus or like a Leona or something. They can set up for those picks. So, you know, as long as he plays underneath the tower, the odds of him getting caught pretty low. So Dragdar able to safely clear through the waves. And you can see now that Prospect's back, they can play a little bit more aggressively and look to shove in Gooby. And what that results in is a bit of free time for Nolty. He's going to be able to start up this dragon. And, oh, man, I'm so happy. It is not going to be a Cloud Soul for the third game in a row.
Yeah, finally got something to play for here. But yeah, I think something worth talking about as well is this mid lane matchup. So one of the things that I always say with Akali is that she's very good into auto attackers because she has the shroud, and the shroud makes it very hard to trade into her just because, you know, you can't auto attack. You can still throw abilities down in where you think she is. But the reason Yasuo is a bit of a unique one is because his auto attacks are skill shots, right, with his Q. And so as a result, even if Akali shrouds, you can still trade into her decently well. You know, her going invisible again doesn't mean your auto is going to get cancelled and you lose out on that damage. And as a result, Slowkey's been holding up pretty okay in this mid lane matchup. Jungle, we see MC a little bit behind because of that attention he devoted top, which, you know, Kex is still down, but he could have been a lot worse. But bot lane, Gooby and PlayStation should be pretty fine, I think, overall. No team with a substantial advantage, but still setting up for the sort of volatile game we're expected to see further on.
Hello. Kex is going in. The grand challenge is thrown down, followed up by the ignite. Wazor trying to find those vitals. Gonna be able to survive. That was a little bit closer than it needed to be.
I think the critical thing was the W was used by Wazor. As soon as that's down, that's like the sign for Kex to go aggressive. And Kex is going to see the Shroud from the Viego here, so he knows to back away. Really punishing, though, because the wave is pushing out from him. He's going to miss a fair bit of farm when he's already 10 CS down.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse for him, unfortunately. And Wazor going to take this opportunity to also reset, get himself a cloth armor.
I don't think NLC should be able to go for this Herald, though, on the back of this. Because they have to answer that top wave, right?
Yeah.
So MC should just be able to push in and contest. But I guess, Fury had a bounce back mid. I still feel like potentially there was a window for MC to move in on this one.
Well, it looks like we may have some action. NLC able to get the smite and instantly caught out by the last breath, but in comes Wazor, and NLC survives. Hook from Prospect is going to land, but Gooby has joined into the fray, into the fight. Fury gets himself a kill onto MC. It's traded back out by Slow Q. A 1-for-1 and a Herald for Singularity. The Rockets not going to be hitting anyone.
Yeah, I think, top lane being reset and Slow Q having to deal with the mid wave was a bit of the problem there. But I think the outcome of that was actually a fair bit of that wave that was built up top was missed out on by Singularity. So a little bit costly in that regard, even though obviously they do get the Herald there.
Well, Slowkey doesn't have the ultimate, so not going to be able to find any kill pressure there onto Fury.
And I think that's another problem with that team fight is we talked a lot about how Riddle have that AoE potential in team fights and how that coordinated lockdown with the Moonfall and the Last Breath from these two is really potent. If you're committing that onto one member, you lose a lot of your team fighting power, right? Kex wasn't there with his Cyclone. Those AoE ultimates being unavailable because you committed them onto Nulti means Singularity have more of a window to contest in that fight.
Oh, hold on. Kex might be looking for Wazor here. Goes in for the riposte and instantly answered out by that Cyclone. Gonna pop the second one, and Wazor not gonna walk back into it, apparently. Not sure why he did that, but, at the end of the day, Wazor's going to be okay. A CS lead that we talked about has been somewhat alleviated because he actually didn't catch most of that big wave in the end.
Yeah.
Because he had to run down for the team fight. I love our recall.
Well, you're against crabs, but you're against a monkey, so it's a little bit different.
It's not an Urgot lane.
Yeah, unfortunately. Pretty even overall. Next dragon spawn in a minute 15. I don't think either team is necessarily forced to contest this one heavily. We could see if it's going to come out. TP available for Kex. Ubi's resetting, which allows them to move bot side. So if they are going to contest this is kind of the timings you need. But still, no one really completed their first item yet. And I think there's a lot of spikes, I guess, from both sides. But I think Yasuo feels a lot better and it's like 1-2 items than he does kind of just sitting on components. I think, though, with Dragdor top side, if Riddle want to force in on Dragon, they know they're not going to be able to deal with the Syndra. They have that TP. But I think with MC resetting now, that they're probably not really going to be in time for it if Singularity rush it. But instead, Singularity actually opting to lean towards the top side of the map and threaten Kex. He is ultless, so potentially a bit of a vulnerable target.
So Fury going to come over, spot him out. Can he land that Shuriken flip? No. Visibility comes in. Kex gets away, but I expect to see the Herald go down, and the trade is going to get broken off here. Couple of plates and maybe the tower to follow in trade for a Infernal Dragon. Although MC has roamed over, so no, they're not actually looking to trade like that.
Yeah, I think it's risky with the Herald because they can definitely take that tier 1, and there's a threat of them going for the tier 2 as well if you don't respond. If they take that tier 2, the gold influx is so massive. Dragon doesn't mean that much, right? If you're not getting soul, one Dragon isn't really going to be a game changer, and I think Riddle make the right call in defending their top side instead of prioritizing just to trade off that Infernal, because the gold deficit would be such an issue.
And I think also because we're not seeing, fast stacking of dragons, so it's not like it's like an early win condition you can lean towards either. So not the most impactful as wow, that win will just shut Fury down quite heavily on that trade, but it's like he didn't really get any damage out himself. So it was more just damage negated. We
do now see Singularity moving towards the boss side of the map. Riddle can contest this if they want. Herald's just going to get thrown down kind of randomly in the bot side. They didn't find their window top, so it'll just be 2 plates. I'm not a huge fan of them just taking 2 plates bot because I think they're going to struggle to take mid tower. They kind of need to walk this one in, but Gooby has protection. Should be pretty all right in this situation.
Dragdog's going to walk up. Yeah, it's only 2 plates, though. Tower's not even remotely low enough to get a 3rd plate, so 2 plates, you know, they traded a kill for that. It gave a kill's worth of gold basically over, but on the plates. But at the end of the day, nothing really special with that one, but they do get the dragon at the least. So that's the 2nd dragon picked up, and we are looking at a mountain soul, which, you know, may be pretty useful to the likes of Dragdog. Gives him a little bit of survivability versus the Wukong and the Diana jumping in.
I think it's pretty valuable because, you know, surviving that combo from Riddle can make a massive difference. That extra bit of resistances, extra shielding can be what separates Gooby from getting a reset and Gooby just getting nothing.
Yeah, it really can. Nice little hook comes out onto PlayStation, but the trap's going to zone Dragdog from getting any closer. And yeah, I think we're going to see a bit of a relaxation as far as the pressure and the action goes for a little bit now, although Nolty is in the bottom side of the map. So maybe they might look for something. They've got flashes on everybody down here.
Yeah, Dragdog's level 9, so has maxed Q, which gives it 25% increased damage to champions. So quite a big power spike for the Syndra there. But even so, it's a hard dive with a Brawn with exhaust. So I think they're just looking for the window, not necessarily going to find it, and they can kind of just back off.
Dragdog just going to continue to hold the wave fairly high here as well. So constantly making Gooby play underneath his tower. But Gooby had such a phenomenal game on the Jinx in game 2.
He was goobing.
He was goobing hard. You know, he didn't find himself constantly getting caught out like he did in game 1. To be fair, he wasn't actually ahead until the Nexus exploded, and then kind of that team fight was where he got himself ahead.
You set that up earlier, Jake. You said that's the win con, destroy the enemy Nexus, and they did. So credit to them.
I think, you know, they've got a good team of like coaches and staff behind them, making sure that they're aware that hitting the Nexus is the preferred way to win the game.
You know, the mean number of Nexuses destroyed in a game is above 1.
True, yeah, but never 2. We have 100% first Nexus win rate so far. As Fury uses the Shroud, hard to catch a Kali in the Shroud as Kex cycloning off. The Heartbreaker's thrown down. Wazor jumps in a little bit too early, so he can't quite find him with that lunge, and that's just going to be a bunch of damage onto Kex and his flash burn. Ignite traded out by full Wazor.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice trade on the Wukong. Forces his flash, forces his ult, but you don't get the kill, and because you're lacking your ult and the Ignite now on the top side, it kind of gives a bit of a weaker pressure around that Herald area. So you can see Singularity feeling confident just to start it up. Dragdog will get the first turret bot lane, and bear in mind he has TP, so if Singularity want to contest it, it will be a 5v4 in their favor. I think this one will just get picked up. Wazor was in base, and I don't think they want to commit too heavily to this one with it being done so quickly. Do have a pause coming in, some lag coming out.
Yeah, just a little bit of lag. Typically these things are over pretty quick, so it shouldn't be too long before we get back into the action. But yeah, I just kind of take a stock of where we are in the game state right now. There's only a 200 gold lead between the teams. Obviously, Dragdog getting that first turret, blood nice for him. He didn't get it all plates, unfortunately, so he won't get that big cash injection, but already got the Ludens finished up. So be starting work towards, which I probably assume will be a Zhonya's Hourglass, and if it isn't, I'm a little worried because I think Zhonya's is very high value for Dragdar in this game.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Zhonya's high value. I think also Grievous Wounds is pretty high value. Someone should be picking that up at some point. We've already got that shield bow from the Astro. We'll get, you know, a little sort of turn back on the Rift and what we've seen so far today. I mean, in this game, not today. And I think, you know, we saw that really nice cover coming out from MC, the play on a Wazor, and I think Riddle doing a decent job of shutting down some of Singularity's attempts to be proactive, because I think Singularity have been the ones more so setting the pace of this game. Riddle kind of just been there to put the hands up and go, whoa, 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 slow it down here a bit.
It's this top lane's been so close. Like it's been so close, like every little bit of scrapping. But ultimately, it doesn't feel like they've really had too much impact outside of that. I mean, it is a Fiora as well, so Fiora not, you know, famed for her team fighting, especially when you're team fighting into this comp. I think Riddle have a really good comp of actually just shutting down Weasel from even joining a team fight. You know, a champion that typically does struggle. There's too much to get through to actually be relevant in that sense. So I think Weasel probably will just be assigned to a side lane, kind of what you expect from a Fiora typically. Because yesterday when we saw him on the Fiora, it was actually an alright team comp for him to actually play team fights into on the Fiora. They're all very low range and he was able to keep himself, you know, relevant that way. But this time, you know, you got to work through the Jinx traps, the Braum slowing you down and CCing you, the double knockups, triple knockups if you factor in a charged up slow QQ. Yeah, it's gonna be side lane duty for Weasel, and I think he did behold breaker both Fiora games last time. As Gooby gonna get goobed as the unleashed power from Dragdar will pop him.
I don't know, man. Similar thing as game one. It's just why are you recalling there? You know, you could have been recalling a little bit deeper, a little bit of safer position. You're just playing with fire for no reason, and it's just another one of those questionable plays that is going to cost the team, because now they're not going to have summoners on Gooby. I actually think, honestly, as soon as the node is connected there, you just don't press any of your buttons and you die. Because now Gooby's flashless, he's a much more vulnerable target in the next team fight. And in 30 seconds is that dragon. You don't want to let them have that third one. So Singularity, this is the perfect scenario with them taking Gooby's flash to set them up for a favorable fight here.
Okay, stepping up, but Dragdar instantly backing off from that one. Dragon spawning up in 14 seconds, and Singularity, it's a big one for them. If they can get that puts them onto Soul Point. That constantly plays into Riddle, where they need to step up and deal with this. Is Nolty going to give up his position in the bush? And the Herald's going to get summoned. I don't think anyone Singularity is going to be able to pop the eye before the charge comes out, although they're going to try their best. Not going to be the case, unfortunately. Charge goes down. Tower gets a big chunk of damage out of it. And I think Riddle, they're just going to be able to pick this dragon up. And no real contest, although Weasel standing on the base, looking for the teleport, looking to come in. Dragon's been started up. Look for Kex. Fury's on that flank as well. They've got a nice little position as Kex has been spotted out by Weasel. Fury's coming in. Nolty steals away the dragon. Gooby on the verge of getting goobed as he is taken out already. 2 kills picked up. The perfect execution's there. And there's the Yasuo combo, but they've already lost just too many members. Singularity running through Riddle in the team fight. MC will eat the Shuriken flip, and it's a double kill for Fury. It's a clean ace for Singularity.
And the only consolation prize for Riddle is the fact that the Baron's not up to be taken, otherwise things would be even worse right now. The approach from Singularity was really good. Based off the fact that Gooby didn't have flash, put him in such a rough position. As soon as he got collapsed on, he was basically dead. And they devoted all that attention to him. They shut him down, and they didn't have that sort of reset potential coming through for the side of Riddle. We can see how things replay. So look at the approach in this. Riddle have grouped onto the objective, and it allows Singularity to push in. We see Weasel ward Kex away from the flank, and then look at Gooby instantly jumped onto by the Viego and the Akali. As soon as Gooby's down, you know, we see the combo then come in, and it does a fair bit of damage, don't get me wrong, but the fight's already lost. You've lost that Jinx who had that reset potential. You'd already dropped a fair chunk of HP on the rest of your team. There's just no way you're recovering, and Singularity, we criticized in game one a bit of their team fighting. We saw them lose out in that manner in game two. That was a crisp team fight from them there.
And now this does put Singularity in a much better position. They're 4,000 gold up over Riddle. Got Divine Thunderers coming in across the board. Stopwatches, even more crucially, in those Zhonya's hourglasses on both Fury and Dragdar, meaning, you know, that last Moonfall, gonna hurt. Really gonna hurt. But you can just turn it off. You can just keep yourself safe if you see them coming in. If you can dodge away on that knockup, you can dodge away on the Yasuo.
Yeah, and that's a critical thing. It just limits the effectiveness of Riddle from finding those critical targets. The fact that, you know, Singularity had enough in gold to get these defensive items as the second items, the Zhonya's, the Sterak's, and they're still going to be putting out far more damage, makes things very tricky. We might see another scenario Riddle want to slow this game out and play it slow, but problem is, you want to slow this game down. There's a dragon in 2 minutes 40. If Singularity get that soul, things are going to be feeling really bad for Riddle.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that the dragon's coming up so soon. It feels like we've only just had the fight for it, but it's a little bit ago now. And Riddle, it's really on them. It's Singularity. They game one, they played a pretty slow-tempered game and kind of starved them out. And then, actually, that was a Fiesta. Last game was a slower game, wasn't it? I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But yeah, in their last game, they did play a slower-tempered game, and Riddle still won.
Was I saying yes about the slower game, or was I saying yes to your statement that you're an idiot?
I think it was a mixture of both, mate. That's how I took that.
Completely right. You completely.
I've worked for you for, I think, 3 years now at this point.
Too long.
Like, I know you.
It's a double whammy.
The ka-pow. I don't know why I made a comic book sound there.
I don't know either, but, you know, I think coming into this next team fight, the onus is on Riddle to find a favorable situation. They need to secure this dragon. And I think it's important that they have their flanks covered. It's important that they can recognize the threats coming onto Gooby. And more importantly, it's very important that he has flash, which he does now. And it doesn't get burned in the next, like, 20 seconds or something, because that would obviously, unsurprisingly, kind of suck.
Yes, funnily enough, it would.
Well, for Riddle, Singularity, they're fine with that. And you can see once more Prospect kind of fishing around mid. Level 13 for Dragdar. So there's some big level spikes you can talk about with Syndra. Obviously,
at level 6, upgrade.
Yeah, level 6, you get your ultimate. At level 9, you get your Q max and the upgrade. At level 11, you get 2 points in your ultimate, so you can just press R and kill someone a bit easier. At level 13, your second skill is maxed out. Typically, we see that being the scatter of the week. There has been some variation in the history of Syndra, but normally in this current meta especially, scatter of the week, just given that big, wider angle to stun people is important. And actually, if we look at itemization, Fury's actually bought a potion of sorcery here and has just popped it. They are very much banking on this fight. They know how important it is to win this one.
Just gets a nice scatter off onto Gooby as well. Going to chunk him somewhat. A whole team spotted out on that ward. Does get sweeped out, and Weasel's roaming down. You can see Fury clearing out the bot wave, but he's going to move into that fog. There's that one ward by the blue buff to work with, but outside of that, it's going to be pretty hard sailing as Slowkey gets stunned up by a scatter of the week, and they're looking for the flank. They're looking for the opportunity. Watch for Kex. Watch for Fury. Fury is spotted once again by that ward. There's the scatter. Oh, two people taking out. Kex jumps in. There's the S1 combo. It's huge from Riddle. And Gooby untouched in the fight. The exhaust comes down. The traps to follow. Nolty's trying to find the additional damage, but it just will not be. A triple kill for Slowq. The dragon for Riddle. And they only lose MC. Beautiful by Riddle.
And that's how you avoid getting flanked. You pull the trigger first, they instantly go in. Kex using the flash dash to get in, get that knock up. The follow-up is instantaneous. And this is the difference. In the last fight, Gooby was down instantly. The engage from Riddle was very late, but here, when they pull it off at the start, that team fighting power is there. Dragdar didn't get the flash, didn't even get to use his ultimate in that situation. Just complete domination. On the back of that, they deny the soul and they pick up this Baron.
And Singularity are teleporting in, but it's a little bit too little. It's a little bit too late. That massive gold lead we talked about has evaporated. It's only 1,000 for Singularity. And let's just have a look at it again. Beautiful execution on this team fight.
The thing is, you saw they were getting poked out by the Scatter of the Week and by the Syndra. You saw that there was that threat at the flank. By engaging so quickly, it just doesn't allow any turnaround for Singularity. It doesn't allow them to find these flank opportunities because they instantly jumped. And credit to Kex on this Wukong for finding that angle and the whole team just instantly following up. And on the back of that, we see a lot more of those items coming in. We see Zhonya's for MC, a bit more survivability. Bloodthirster for Slowq and a GA coming up next. And Gooby now working towards that Lord Dominic's Regards. So much more equal footing now. If they find another engage like that, they're going to be in a beautiful spot. But for now, they have that Baron to work with to apply some pressure. And, I mean, look to crack some of these towers because they are still 0 towers left taken in the game from the start of Riddle.
And I think the big thing there was, you know, they was that ward by the blue buff was so big because they knew exactly where Fury was. I think that play would have been a lot scarier to do if you didn't know where Fury was because he could come in and one-shot Gooby. And, you know, it's a yellow trinket. It's Dragdar has to go in for a stopwatch, but the traps will seal the deal. Great scout of the week to bop MC away, but the rockets from Gooby will be enough to finish this up for the moment as Singularity are looking for Kex. He pops out the Cyclone. Shuriken Flip comes down. Second Cyclone's going to land. His heart is broken. They strip Baron off one of the side lanes, but at what cost? 2 towers have already fallen in the third. Going to be quick to follow as well. Gooby able to just mince through these towers, and tower number of the inhibitor will be next to go.
And now you look top, there's a big wave built up they can sort of get towards if they're quick enough. Look to take this top lane tier 1. Just push through the jungle, take away all the camps there as well. Riddle now 1,000 gold up. Remember, pre that Baron, they were about 4,000 down.
Oh, look at that drop.
Yeah, it looks like a lake, honestly. Looks like a lake, and they've got to the other side of it. Not that big of a lake, decently sized, but, you know, we saw Singularity get that advantage at the back of the dragon fight. And the thing is, Riddle were able to answer back, and now things feeling a little bit tricky. There is something to be said. Riddle are pushing quite heavily. You can see slow Q sweeping out because any flank wards, any opportunities.
Big scatter, unleashed power blocked out by PlayStation. Teleports are coming in. Weasel's trying to find the opportunity to get in. Can Prospect get over the wall? In comes Fury. Into the Shroud he goes. That's MC. It's getting a kill onto Weasel, but the answer is straight back out. Prospect buying time. Everybody's knocked up. The scatter won't hit. Prospect will fall. And Slow Q once again finds himself multiple kills. Fury and Dragdar, the only 2 remaining, as Kex looks for Dragdar. Dragdar will move to safety. They've got a wave to push up in the mid lane. And can they close it? They don't have Baron. At least
Gooby
that's the one thing.
Gooby needs to die. If you can find Gooby quickly, but he's healing up, it's getting harder and harder.
Big scan of the week. Fury, can he find it? No, he can't. The traps go down. The tower under fire here as Kex pops himself the Cyclone. First tower's down. Second tower will be falling. The Nexus has been exposed. This could be it. They're finding the kills. The Nexus is oh so low. Slow Q. Can he do it? No, he can't. Singularity. Hold on. They are still in the playoffs for a moment, for a small period of time. Holy moly!
So close, honestly, to be in the end. You could see Singularity trying to buy time. They wanted to wait for Weasel to be alive, but it came so down to the wire in that situation. We're first going to replay up that fight. So the initial scan of the week good, but PlayStation comes in to block the ultimate from the Syndra. And then this engage, Dragdar, watch him throughout the duration of this, okay? Because the fight goes over this wall, and he can't follow. There's no way for him to participate. So him and Fury are kind of just chilling over here, and the rest of the team ends up getting taken out. And that's where the problem comes for that one. And then here, you can see Fury and Dragdar just unwilling to heavily commit. They're just buying time in this situation. And it just comes down to the wire. Riddle so focused on just trying to take out the structures, but, you know, that's going to have to hold. Nexus is open mid. They're looking for MC.
Oh, they found MC. The unleashed power is going to hit, and the hook lands down as well. PlayStation, it's a massive unleashed power by Dragdar. Gooby's untouched at the moment. The healing from Weasel is huge. Another scatter the week comes down, and the resurrection from Slow Q will not save him today. Nolty in monkey form, able to pick up the kill, and they might not even need Soul to be able to close this game out, as they know where Gooby is. Gooby might find himself gooped. The hook goes wide, and Gooby running the long way around.
They just have to stop him from resetting. He can't defend.
He can't do anything. He might be able to kill Prospect, though. Prospect looks for the hook, looks for the turnaround. In comes Weasel. Instantly traps. Instantly popped as he finds the kill. He gets the reset, and now Weasel's in trouble. He's on a ward. They know where he is, but the team are inside the base. PlayStation locking Weasel down for the moment, but Gooby hasn't reset. Weasel trying to make the hero play happen as he's teleporting into the base. The first tower's going down. Are Singularity going to make the same mistake? The moonfall is huge, but it's not big enough. Kex comes in with a Cyclone. Gooby's still alive. The Nexus has been focused. Singularity, can they do it? Yes,
oh my lord!
Singularity are through to the next stage.
What a back and forth in this game. I mean, you can't call it closer than that.
Holy
a couple of autos would have won Riddle that matchup. And in the end, Singularity able to answer back, stopping the reset coming out from Gooby. It was mind-blowing how close that one was. And I felt like that dynamic was coming out from that game. It was such high skill expression champions. The fights were so much on execution. Both teams had massive team fights to dictate the pace of the game, but it just kept going back and forth until these final moments, and Singularity only just clutch at the end.
That was an unbelievable game. Singularity knock out Riddle out of the playoffs and are through to the next round, and they'll be taking on the loser of our next game, which is Fnatic taking on Tricks. But before that, it is time for us to hear from our analyst desk. So we're going to throw to a break, and when we're back, they'll talk a little bit more about this series and that game. We'll see you in a moment.